Hey San Diego, this is Dr. Jason Shumard with Integrative Wellness Center and author of The Thyroid Epidemic. So today I'm going to be talking to you a little more about into the thyroid and different problems that an individual could be experiencing with their thyroid condition and maybe not getting the results that they wanted to see. So, we work with lots of different thyroid patients in our practice. And many of them have, if you've watched one of our previous videos, underlying problems like Hashimoto's, autoimmune disease, or other types of issues like toxicity or adrenal issues. There's so many different things. And if you're watching my video series, you're going to be watching a lot of these things, and I'll go into detail a lot of the different mechanisms that we see with our patients that are dealing with thyroid. But today, what I wanted to focus on is something that I hear quite often from our patients, and they're very frustrated in the situation. Many of our patients, maybe yourself if you're dealing with this condition right now, is just constantly tired. You're always fatigued. Maybe you're not sleeping that well, and throughout the day, there's days when you have good energy or times when you have good energy and times when you don't have such good energy, and it's very frustrating, needing naps and those sort of things. And the frustrating thing is that most of these individuals that I speak with that are dealing with a thyroid problem, their doctors are telling them that their thyroid is functioning normally, even though they still have these types of symptoms of being fatigued. So today we're going to talk about why do I still feel tired even though my thyroid is normal. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 4 different common things that we see in our practice where the individual may still have some of these symptoms even though their doctor is saying that everything is fine. So let's go over number 1. So the first one that we're going to see is that, well, this is a combination. So maybe the TSH and medication. So what does that mean? So when your doctor is running your blood work, they're going to run a test called TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. Now, what's interesting about this is that when you look at the lab ranges to the right of your blood work, and hopefully you're getting your blood work and your results, but the ranges are going to be anywhere between 0.45 to 5.5. Now, that's a massive range, a very, very large range. And essentially, your doctors are looking to see if your TSH is in that range or not. And if it's within the range, you're going to be totally fine. They leave the medication the way it is, and they just say your thyroid is functioning normally. But if it's out of the range, they're going to adjust your medication. So if it's too low, they're going to increase your medication. If it's too high, they're going to decrease the medication if it's too low. And if it's too high, they're going to increase the medication. So that's part of that medication process. So maybe the scenario is you haven't had your TSH ran in a while, and maybe that number is off, and you need to address and adjust that medication. But the other thing I want to tell you about as well is that is a massive range, right? What you really want to look at is what's called the healthy range. And a healthy range, depending on what you're looking at, can be anywhere, well, should be no higher than 3, I should say. As long as you're within, say, maybe a 1 to a 3, you're in a good range, and that's where we want to see you for your TSH. But again, if you remember what I said, a lot of the ranges can go up to 4.5, even up to 5.5, depending on the lab and what your doctor's using as a range. So sometimes individuals can be like a 3.5, 4.0, and they're not feeling good, so your doctor's just not using enough sensitivity in their analysis to adjust the medication. So that may be the case. Now, you may not be able to get them to make those changes because they're waiting for the numbers to go out of range. But your TSH could be one of those things that is being missed, and that may need to be evaluated. So if you're still dealing with symptoms of fatigue and you haven't had your TSH ran in a while, it may be a good time. But also make sure you're looking at that proper range of between 1 and 3. Some people say it should be between 1 and 2. Some people say it should be at least between no higher than 3. So we'll just say 1 to 3 to make sure we cover that range appropriately for you. And maybe that medication needs to be adjusted. So that's the first one. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that we could have what's called autoimmune disease or Hashimoto's. Now, I've spoke about this in one of my previous videos, and you can go back and watch that if you want to, but autoimmune disease, which is essentially the immune system attacking and destroying and killing the thyroid, reducing the ability for the thyroid to function normally, which is going to cause your thyroid to show low thyroid or potentially hyperthyroid as well, or a combination of both. So this could be a component here. You could have an underlying autoimmune disease that you haven't been diagnosed, because many of your doctors aren't going to run these tests. And if they did, it still will not change the treatments. You're still going to be taking the same medication. So by taking the medication up here, it could normalize your TSH, but then your immune system will continue to attack your thyroid, making you feel terrible and increasing your risk of having fatigue or being tired. So this could be another component. It could be actually your underlying cause of your thyroid problem could actually be an autoimmune disease, and it may not even be anything to do with your thyroid at all. If you want to learn more about that, you can look back on one of my previous videos, or if you're interested, I can do more intense video on that. Just comment below to let me know you're interested in learning more about that. Number three, the number three problem that could be going on here is that you could have other issues. What that means is that there are multiple other problems that could be going on inside your body that can create fatigue. One of the most common ones that we see is adrenal issues, right? So adrenal issues, adrenal gland, if you've never heard of that, sits on top of your kidneys, and one of its major jobs is to handle stress. So oftentimes, especially now in this day and age, we're under a lot of stress. Things have changed. Maybe financial stress or work or family. There's lots of stress going on right now. And when your adrenal gland is under stress, over time it stops working as effectively. And what'll happen is next thing you know, you'll start having symptoms. Now what's interesting is that the adrenal gland symptoms are almost identical to the thyroid symptoms, and very, very commonly can be associated with each other as well. So you could have adrenal problems and it can be causing you to have fatigue, because the adrenal glands involved with your ability to sleep appropriately. It's your circadian rhythm. It can cause fatigue. It can cause brain dysfunction. It can cause weight gain. So very common type symptoms that we see with thyroid problems from the adrenal response as well. So, and there can be some other things that are going on there also. So that's another component that could happen, is that, let's just say, you look at the thyroid, your TSH is good, the medication is doing well, you don't have Hashimoto's. Well, maybe you need to look into some other problems that could be going on under the surface, like the adrenal gland, because that could be a component to what's happening, continually causing you to be tired, and maybe it's affecting some other symptoms you're having as well. And the fourth one is what I want to talk about, is that you could have other downgraded problems going on with the thyroid. So what that means is there's something called underconversion. So we'll call it underconversion. That's an R. Underconversion. Now, what this means is, and I don't want to go too deep into this, because I did a previous video as well on this, you can look back on this, but I talked about the different steps that the thyroid has to go through for the full functionality. Right now, when your doctor runs a test, they're running TSH, maybe T4 or free T4, but they're really not running the full expanded model of what you should be doing for your thyroid. There are 10 markers that should be ran every single time when you're running the thyroid markers. And one of those markers is called T3 and free T3. See, what happens is when your thyroid produces hormone, there's two hormones that are produced, T4 and T3. Now, roughly 93% of the production of thyroid hormone is T4, and about 7% is T3. I've talked about this, like I said, in previous videos. So look back on one of those videos if you want to know more about that. But why that's important is your T3 is your active hormone. It is a very important hormone that turns on your DNA, allows you to have good sleep, allows you to have good energy, allows your brain to function properly. So there is no way that we can survive off of just maybe 7% amount of T3 in our body. So what happens is we have to convert that T4 to T3. So it converts from a T4 to a T3. And that happens in two different areas. It happens in the intestinal tract or the gut, and it happens in the liver. So sometimes the person may have other symptoms like indigestion, bloating, gas, they just don't feel good in their tummy or when they eat food, or they're having elevated cholesterol levels or those sort of things. that's giving us an indication that something is wrong. Those are other symptoms of a problem. And if we were to run a full thyroid panel, we can see that maybe their total T3 is low or their free T3 is low. Now, in a medical model, they may just say, oh, let's give them more hormone to try to increase that. But wouldn't it make more sense to like look at the gut, look at the liver to see maybe there's a conversion issue going on? If we can support that and help the conversion, help the body out properly, of course it's a better option. So you can see if you have low T3, that's also going to influence your ability to have energy. And if you don't have good T3, you'll have what's called underconversion, and that'll create fatigue, maybe some sleep issues, and maybe some other symptoms that are also associated. So we have to look at the full spectrum. And these are 4 things that we commonly see with patients who have thyroid conditions in our office that are not getting the proper results or not getting the proper analysis. And we can really investigate to find out and hone in what's the major issue. Sometimes it's an easy fix, and it's just analyzing the TSH, sending them back to their doctor, getting their medications adjusted, and they're good to go. As we go a little more advanced situations, like number 2 here, this is the most common thing that we see, is that when we actually test someone, we analyze their antibodies, and they actually have Hashimoto's, which is an underlying autoimmune disease, which is very serious and very damaging and cause a lot of problems in the body. We also see other areas that are going on that can also contribute to their fatigue if their thyroid is normal. And then we can also see, as we investigate a little further into their thyroid analysis, when we expand the panel out, that maybe they have underconversion, which could be contributing to their fatigue or tired as well. So these are some of the most common things that we see in our practice, and this could be happening to you right now, and mainly because you haven't been properly analyzed. So hopefully this information is helpful and valuable for you today to start to understand a little more about what could be going on with you. And if it is valuable, well, then make sure you like this video. I would really appreciate it. It would help us out as well so that more people can get this information, because one of my passions and goals is to educate my community so we can be healthier. And that's really important, and also to change the face of healthcare and get people healthier as well. Also, if there's something that you had a question about during this video, make sure you post your questions there. If there's a comment, I love comments. Say, I hated your video, it was good or bad or whatever. Please place the comments. I will respond to those comments individually, or one of my staff will. And lastly, if you're at a place right now where you're just struggling and you don't know what to do and you're looking for help, well, maybe we might be the best option for you. You can always give our office a call to schedule a consultation one-on-one. We can do it virtually through a Zoom call, or if you feel comfortable, you can come into the office and meet with me one-on-one as well. So then we can get a full spectrum of what's going on with you, and maybe start to unravel some of the true underlying causes. What is a true mechanism of what's going on with your body, and finally get you back on the path to being healthy again. Lastly, if this is something you enjoyed, please share it. That would really be helpful. Maybe someone else can get some great information and data from this that would help them and move them down the path of getting healthy again. If there's anything that I can do, any way I can help, please reach out and let us know. If there's any specific things you want me to go over, if there's any problems you're experiencing, you're struggling with, and just don't know what to do or how to handle it, comment below. I'll make sure I put a video together for you and do another one like this for you as well. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.